And even if you were to have like a prompt of 10 different things, right? Like say if you had one prompt of like, oh, like here's 10 different personality traits, here's 10 different superpowers, here's 10 different drawbacks.
I like coming up with random list of powers and then just see what I come up with.
Imagine rolling just those things every single time. It's always going to vary. The possibility of that happening is again like a 1 in 10 chance, but it's like it shows that there's an infinite
There's
possibility.
always something else cool right around the corner that we can come up with, because there's no end to the prompts. There's no end to what we can roll up.
Now we're going to be officially rolling for superpowers. This is usually the make or break.
Roll for Hero!
Are we live? Are we good?
Yeah, we're live.
Hey, yo, and hello, everyone. Welcome to Roll for Hero, a segment of our channels in which we let that dice dictate what on God's green earth we're going to be drawing for today. And welcome to the Christmas edition of Roll for Hero, the first festive episode that I think I've ever been a part of in general in anything. And I can't wait to see where this goes. Hey, yo, and hello, everyone. It is me, your weird, cracked out, fun and wondrous Uncle E, and with me today is my big bearded, bald-headed, beautiful, sexy man claimed to be in 1969. You know him, you love him. He is the big fish in the small pond of indie comics, Mr. Fish.
What is up, everybody? Hello to everybody in the comments. Sorry I didn't get the show posted earlier. I've been running around all day doing last-minute shopping. People that know me well, like Katie, know I cannot keep a secret to save my life. Like, I can't lie. It's part of the OCD and the Tourette's. I will just yell out whatever I bought you for Christmas. What is up, Kyron? Good to see you, man.
Hey, yo, and hello. Hey, yo, and hello. Hey, yo. Ho, ho, how we doing?
Second to buy my wife's Christmas presents, or else I will just tell her everything that I got her. So I was busy all morning today when I'm usually setting up the show, going shopping. So, there we go. I've only got to make it one day to not tell her the stuff that she was there with me when I bought. Yeah.
Yeah, see, this is where you and I differ, because you see, my future wife and I, we more or less kind of told each other, given the circumstances in our lives, we're like, look, we're going to have like primarily Christmas to ourselves. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get you one thing. You're going to get me one thing. This is going to be like, for now, the end all be all, because, we got things going on in our lives. We got to pay for a wedding and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, look, what do you want? Just to make it plain and simple for me to get it. I'll tell you what I want.
See, I love that.
And also, well, I mean, trust me, she loves the surprise. She loves the idea of just opening up a gift and being like, oh, being super surprised. We love that. But right now in our situations, we're like, we really can't afford this at the moment. So I'm like, all right, here's the deal. Tell me what you want. Originally, she wanted the Steam machine, but it turns out they don't come out till like next year. So I'm gonna get that as a birthday gift. But I did get her that really big $300 Lego set, the Lego Dungeons and Dragons set. She's always wanted that one, so she is gonna be ecstatic for that. And then I also asked for a very pricey gift.
Me and my wife were talking about it today as we were driving around. I was like, honestly, I would kind of like to do like I've heard some people do in their families, where everybody buys their own gift and then we unwrap them together and everybody gets to see what you got and you get to talk about it. And so like, this is why I really wanted this thing and I like this thing and I'm excited about it. And I like that idea, except for it takes the fun out of getting a gift for somebody.
Yeah.
But it also takes the stress out of, I could get you something. I might get close to the general area of what you want, but not get you exactly the thing that you were looking forward to. And that's tough. Or like, I've had a lot of Christmases when I was young and like, me and my ex-wife are trying to, keep the kids alive and stuff, much less be able to buy presents. And like, I really needed a new graphics card for my computer that was $200. Neither of us could give $200 to each other at the time, but I would get like $300 in gift cards to Hobby Lobby and all kinds of different little knickknacks that I didn't need, or like pencil sets that I wasn't going to use. It's like, if you just gave me cash, I could have got the one thing that I really needed.
Yeah.
But,
and then also to address some of the comments, some people were saying like, I didn't even know there was going to be an episode today because it is the day before actual Christmas. It is Christmas Eve. Hence why this is going to be our first holiday episode, which is why the thumbnail is of me looking like an elf and Mr. Fish, respectively, looking like Santa Claus over here, as we are trying to deliver the gift of an episode of Roll for Hero, you know? And speaking of Roll for Hero,
Christmas themed episode this time, and we are going to design some wintry Christmas type themed characters depending on what we roll up. And this time we're each going to roll up our own characters, so we draw something completely different from each other, and so we don't end up both doing elves or whatever, or whatever we
exactly. Not only that, but this is also still going to stay in the theme of our science fiction universe that we are still completely building up. So for the past couple episodes, we have actually been creating this entire sci-fi universe. We created Jupiter Jack, Meteor Mandy. We created the evil villains and the henchmen, and we even created some other aliens that happen to have a very deceptive look to them, if you will. And next we are going to be basically taking Christmas characters and just chucking them in space, kind of like how Santa Claus visit Darkseid to give him his lump of coal every year.
Jetpacks, bubble helmets, the whole 9 yards.
Happy holidays, Philip Walters. Now, Mr. Fish, how about we get on to showing what we ended up drawing on our last episode of Roll for Hero?
Do that right now. Okay, here we go. There is the character that you rolled up last week. I'm going to leave this the size it is just because it's going to make it a lot easier to edit later.
Yeah.
But here's your character. Did we ever end up getting a name for him?
I believe so. Let me actually check the, vast variety of all the characters. Kazaro is what I guess is like a specific name for the character, or at least this one in particular. His name is Kazaro, but maybe, we don't have like a definitive alien like species name, but basically we ended up rolling an alien with no eyes, had either like a fin, had horns, or it was a whole lot of mumbo jumbo. Let me see if I even have my notebook here. That's why I had to bring this backpack and whatnot.
Telekinesis, healing factor, size change, enhanced senses, insectoid, no eyes, scales, crested or fin, with human mouth and 4 limbs
and 4 regular limbs. So this was just like a whole mess of craziness. So trying to come up with a consistent character concept was definitely something, and I'm very glad by what I was able to create here. So if you can't kind of tell from like the characters, like overall, like like a little bit behind him, it's actually like a bug or like an ant-like butt or something like that. I don't know the proper term for it, but there's no eyes. He actually has more nostrils. He has this very like scaled, armored insect kind of a vibe, which honestly I really, really like. And of course, Mr. Fish's character is the head honcho. So think of my character that you're seeing above me. Imagine this character being like the henchman, or like the rund, or basically like cannon fodder. Like if you're a superhero and you have to fight a horde of monsters or villains or whatever, these would be a part of said horde.
That's the big scary eyeless minion to go with my evildoer here. I love the way he came out. I love the no eyes. I love that seam in his skull plate, kind of giving him an eyebrow look. I love the fins as mustache and stuff. I did go with your idea, and I turned the spots on his belt black, like black gems, like black holes.
And then also because I think they're playing on the Dark Matter Coalition, because then in this little science fiction universe, there's the Cosmic Coalition, which is like the typical good guy, we're trying to bring planets together, bring unity throughout the galaxy and the cosmos. But then you have, your character over here is like, nah, I see darkness. I am bringing dark matter within the confines of this universe. I am bored with this, blah, blah, blah. Like he has this whole, these are the characters, by the way, that are actually the reason as to why our characters even have powers to begin with.
Oh, yeah. Which was something that I added in to, for my cover, I did a scene here with like the scene where, Lord Dominus is shrinking them down, and where they end up getting their powers and end up facing off in a fight with Yordu Kazar there. And I thought that came out really cool. I love the the old school feel of it. I almost wanted to put like word balloons and stuff on there because I love that in the old comics where they're talking on the covers and stuff. But I think he came out really cool. I think that came out really good.
I'm just as surprised in how well that came out. To again, rolling all of these things up and forcing ourselves to stick to the plan again, kind of like when we were doing it with TS. And speaking of TS and the episode that we did with him, or at least that I did with him, we're not going to talk about anyways.
Yeah, y'all came up with really cool characters on that one. You rolled up some wild things, and I remember as I was watching the episode, I was thinking of like what I would do, and I started getting ideas. And the more the story went on and the more y'all evolved your characters, the more mine kind of tweaked and changed in my mind. But I was on the highway. So when I got home, I came up with my version that was much more like Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch inspired, who was like, the pimp that was, their CI that they could get answers out of about what was going on, in the underground world. And I kind of liked the idea of having, like a con man pimp style, bad guy. And then Dadpool came up with the name Deceptile as we were talking last time, trying to come up with ideas for our new characters. I was like, nope, I'm absolutely taking that for my character, for the name of these characters, period. And the idea of them, having all these tentacles, but they have scales and they can shapeshift to look like other things and all this stuff. I was like, Deceptile fits too well for like this species as a whole, or this faction, or whatever it is of this race. Like the Decepticons, they're Autobots, but they're like a faction of the species.
Exactly. They're all Cybertronians, but the Autobots that are like the good guys. Decepticons, which are the bad guys. And then not only that, speaking of, so for context, here's what we rolled up when doing this here. So this over here is TS's drawing, and then over here is what I ended up doing. So we rolled an alien with 7 tentacles, with a human-like body shape, with scaled skins that has patterned spots and stripes. I did primarily more spots because it was easier. They had like a sonic emitter, so they did have a mouth, but they probably didn't like speak a proper language. So they can only speak via, through that sonic, or through that voice emitter. They had like electromagnetic organs, so if you cut them, you might see more electrical waves rather than blood. Who knows? They live in a technocracy, and they happen to have a skill of being shapeshifters. Hence why they are the Deceptiles and whatnot. And also they have multiple organs. So you can kind of tell with my character right over here that I was trying to use like all the limbs or all the tentacles to the best of my abilities. Also, these are aliens that happen to have 6 eyes that are on stalks, and they all kind of like just kind of worm and flex around and whatnot. So with my character, I made her look more like a typical Westernish, sci-fi-ish bounty hunter, where she has 4 arms, she has 2 legs, and she has like a tail that could, either be like a 3rd leg or something else. And her eye stalks actually go above her eyes or like above her hat. I don't know. It's just a funny little design choice. And then, TS took it to a very different direction, giving it a very like scary look. And I'm like, why didn't I like actually think about making my character look horrific? No, because I had to make mine always look, pretty and dainty. And for those
that's the thing. Our imaginations all went in way different directions, and and I like to think, even with mine, that this is a look he's choosing. It could be anything. He could look like any of them if he wanted to. And like when it came to the 6 eyes on stalks, I went with 3 eyes on 2 stalks. But in my mind, he can switch that to whatever he wants. He could switch it to being 2 eyes on 3 stalks, or 6 on 6 if he wanted to, or 6 on 1, because in my mind, between their body and scales being able to move and shift, and then with the technological advances and stuff that they have, I think like he's got like a hologram emitter that if he can't copy it, he can make it look like that, and he can like take up the space by changing his shape and the length and positioning of his tentacles and whatnot. But once you put a hat on yours, I was like, I got to do a hat, because that was cool. But I had to do it different. And then I started looking up like, what outfits did like Huggy Bear wear in the show, and what did Snoop Dogg wear as Huggy Bear in the movie, and so I had to come up with this cool like suit and stuff, and I like the way it came out. I think it's funny, and in doing so, I also came up with a cover. Whoops, that's not the cover I need. Where is it?
When I saw that on the thumbnail, I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, I worked really hard on that.
That was amazing.
But yeah, I've got Jupiter Jack and Meteor Mandy like grabbing him while he's in cahoots talking with these two other strangers in the background. And I love the like look on his face as he turns around, and they're all like, do. Yeah, I'm not with this guy, trying to get out of there before, the cops spot them with this guy. And I just love thinking about what were they talking about, what kind of deals were they working before the cops busted in and started asking questions. But anyway, that was a lot.
And I mean, I'm loving like this whole, and again, I love this. I love the fact that we're like diving into this universe, actually like getting to expand upon it a lot more. Not only that, but it's also like we developed the heroes for this. We have the definitive, like in my opinion, we have the definitive heroes. We have Jupiter Jack, we have Meteor Mandy. Like totally, like those are gung ho, the main characters. What are your thoughts on what? Hold on. What are your thoughts on what you think about Karl Urban, who plays Billy Butcher in The Boys, playing Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat 2? I didn't even know that was a thing. So
I think they're going to screw up Mortal Kombat 2 because they always screw up Mortal Kombat movies. Personally,
video game movies are really hard to adapt.
It's hard.
Movies about a titular video game never does well, but movies about the concept of a video game always tend to work better. Best example I have, Jumanji, the newer sequels, both of them, they're about people like living within the confines of a video game, but it's not really about like a titular kind, you know what I mean? Like, yes, it's about Jumanji.
And also, like, and it depends on the game. Like, Pac-Man, it's hard to get a lot of story arc out of running around a maze eating ghosts. Like, there's just not a lot to that. And Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, they don't really have a whole lot of lore. They have a little bit, packed in the cutscenes, but not a whole lot. And there's just not a lot to work with to stretch out a whole movie and make it really interesting to me. But other things like, The Last of Us had an amazing epic story that you could easily just take the story that they already created and make a show out of it, and it was interesting. But
exactly. And then I would only assume the same thing would happen with Fallout, because again, those were narrative games that happen to also have a lot of play mechanics to it. Fighting games in general, like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, which I know that Howard was asking. Again, I feel like those kind of movies, you really got to be like either really patient with them or you just don't even bother, because those kind of movies, like games to movie adaptations, are never going to be that good. Like, I wasn't alive during this time, but I know the most infamous, what's it called? The most infamous adaptation of a video game was the Mario Brothers movie. It had no look or feel to it. I actually remember watching it and being like, wait, there was a Mario Brothers movie? What's this looking like?
It was bad. Yeah.
It was horrific.
Felt nothing like the video games at all. But again, they had to make a whole lot of lore and stuff out of a game that didn't really have a whole lot at the time. It's been fleshed out a lot more now over the years in all these games. So the newer Mario movies have something to work off of, but still they're adding to make it a full movie. Red Dead Redemption would make a cool movie. My thoughts on the dude playing Guile in the Street Fighter movie is Guile looks stupid. But Guile's always looked stupid. Guile looked stupid in the game. It just looked cool because, it was the 80s or whatever, and it was a badass fighting game. But he looked stupid. I mean, it's a dumb design, but trying to bring that into real life, just come on. That's
but speaking of crazy dumb designs and having to create in-depth lore, I think it's about time we as much as we love to yap about this kind of stuff, how about we yap about all this as we take the dice? So everyone here, grab your dice, grab your drawing utensil of some kind, and how about we begin as we start rolling for a hero? Alrighty, so let me actually get the list over here because I kind of already have them made. There we go.
Yeah, I've got them over here too. I can pull up. Let's see.
Well, I got them right here.
Okay.
Wait, actually, you know what? Hold up. Wait. I have the
We'll leave
occupation. That's perfect.
That works great. We've
That
got
works way too well. We should probably have this set up a lot more as we're moving on. Like, I have one screen, you have the other. It works. But speaking of, all right, so we have, I guess you could say like the occupation, but in other words, it's more like what are we taking this character and what are we going to be adapting them as? And then we also have the actual list of said characters. So we're going to, and these are only done with a basic, D6. So you can use a basic, cube dice and just roll along with this. This is like the simplest, list I've had to make. Not at all last minute last night, as I really needed sleep because it turns out that it is Christmas.
We don't
Eve.
do anything last minute around here.
Exactly. So
Johnny on the spot. We are so prepared. Woo.
Exactly. So prepared, in fact, that I'm gonna roll. Oh, you see, I was so prepared that my other dice was blocking my dice tower. My first D20 I've ever owned.
Really?
Yeah, actually. Funnily enough, these are also like the proper set of like gaming dice I've owned. Like I have a whole 12 pack of these black ones, and then this red one was actually like the first OG dice like the first D20 I've ever owned. But outside of that, Commander Comics rolled a 7. All right, that could either be the fact that it is I don't know why I have 7 here. I missed a number. Either I missed a number or I'm going crazy. I'm probably going
he
crazy.
rolled 2 dice. That's what he did.
Okay, because I only meant to do 1, and
Because
for some
he
reason
only put 6 options in this one.
Or no. The funny thing is, the occupation I have 7 for some reason.
Oh, you do, don't you?
I do. I don't know. You know what?
I didn't notice that. I saw the characters first.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I got
be prepared for everything. Exactly, Draken Gaming. I am trying to be prepared for everything. So who am I? What did you roll, Mr. Fish?
I rolled a 2 and a 4, and I'm looking at both combinations. Either I got a soldier reindeer, or I got a planetary hero, Mrs. Claus.
Oh,
I'm thinking soldier reindeer. I want to do. I'm thinking that's what I want to do.
Okay, hold on. No way.
What did you get?
I think the first time on the channel. First time I rolled 2.
So you got a soldier Mrs. Claus.
I got a soldier Mrs. Claus. All right. That's it. The dice have spoken for us.
There we go. There's no arguing with that.
Okay, so then now we have to
This is a sci-fi space realm that's ruled by interstellar soldiers, apparently.
Well, I mean, we happen to have the Dark Matter Coalition, we have the Cosmic Coalition, and then on top of that, we have some characters with powers and abilities. I wouldn't be surprised if there happened to be a rendition of, Mrs. Claus and Santa Claus just happened to be freaking military soldiers, or, just got to be some variation of like just tough, rough and tough, space heroes to that extent.
Now, my question is,
okay,
how evolved are these reindeer? I'm going to roll another one to see how high or low their evolution is. Okay, a 5. So they're pretty. They're
also we're talking like these are highly evolved, like intensified reindeer, beefed out dudes.
Yeah, like I was wondering, like, is this just like a reindeer that's in the military? Like, is it a 4-legged, mute animal, or is it, are we going
let me
more?
See. I see some people rolling up some other numbers here.
Anthropomorphic.
Well, let me just see what we got over here. Some people said they rolled a 3 and a 2. Let me do page assist, so that was easier here. So for 3 and a 2, you could have gotten an elf or Mrs. Claus, or you could have gotten a soldier and a mech pilot. That would be friggin' gnarly. And then someone goes, I rolled, like, I think someone said like they rolled a 1. Either you got Santa Claus or you got military. But the fact that I got Mrs. Claus being a soldier is something. I rolled an elf soldier.
See, I think that's neat idea. I was kind of hoping I was going to get that. That's what I was hoping for. I didn't even
But
contemplate a reindeer, but
all right, maybe use as a bit of the. All right, so now we have our. I feel like we should like. Obviously, I don't know how. If you could, it would be neat to play some like. Oh wait. Oh,
some
never mind.
music, some holiday music.
Yeah,
bet
I mean,
they have some. Look.
it has some here, but what are your thoughts on the upcoming Clayface?
Oh yeah, they
movie?
got Christmas.
They do. There we go. We got some tunes now, people. Just so that we're not.
I'm really looking forward to the Clayface movie. I think that's going to be cool.
I am not a horror fanatic, but I know who is, and that is my future wife. She loves horror, weirdly enough. Well, she doesn't like horror. She likes the mascot horror genre. She loves the Five Nights at Freddy's thing. And then also now that there's that new movie Iron Lung coming out, made by Markiplier, she is ecstatic to see that film.
Let me look up actual reindeer. I'm gonna pull a Katie Rooston and I'm gonna use a reference, like some kind of psychopath.
Hey, I mean, I think I might have been the first one to use references on our channel.
Cosmic Coalition or the Dark Matter Coalition.
They play into.
I think it. I mean, it totally. It depends on who you're doing. Like if I had gotten like militant snowmen, they probably would have joined the evil side just because I think.
Oh, for sure.
Cool. But like if it's Mrs. Claus, unless we're doing like an evil Mrs. Claus, I would think she would probably be on the good guy side. I would think.
Oh, are you kidding me? She would be again. I can imagine she would have some children with good old Saint Nick, because she's like, I swear, if I see something wrong happening right now, I will bring myself over there. Don't make me bring your father now. You know how busy he is this time of year. And I can totally see that like backfiring, or like not backfiring, but I can totally see that like being a problem there. I'm trying to play
it. It's really giving me issues. Let me try this.
I'm shocked Krampus wasn't on the list for Christmas character. You know what? Could it honestly? I was, but I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that right now. Probably should have. Should have, would have, could have. Well. Live and learn. Live and learn.
Well, also, like, either you've got to do 6 characters or you've got to come up with like a full 12 or a full 18. And,
exactly.
So that's the other thing. Like, I had a hard time thinking of like 7 or 8. I'm not sure I could have come up with 11 or 12. Oh, it's 11 because you can't roll a 1. So, but still, I would have had a hard time coming up with enough to fill up the list.
My totally taking my feet out of a massager right now.
Oh, there's a goofy goober looking dude.
There we are. So we're finally getting something going on over here. Imagine this version of Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus having grandkids in the sci-fi world. That would be hysterical. And also that would probably be interesting, knowing that the title of like Santa Claus is always going to be like passed down from like say father to son, maybe even to daughter. Who knows? I don't know why I'm trying to go for like an old war-torn granny over here. I could pull an Alice Lost in Wonderland on this one and just kind of make her like a really, just like a supermodel like woman, white hair, just happens to have an entire like Mrs. Claus look to it. Just take your Alice character and just put her in a Santa Claus or a Mrs. Claus outfit.
If she's got white hair, you could do it. It would fit.
How about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Soldier Reindeer? That would actually, you know what? If I was to take Rudolph and take him and like put him into an entire different situation, I would like use like either his red nose as like a projection type thing, and like his antlers would help, kind of like Death Star style. They would all kind of like go to the nose, and he can use it as like a laser attack or something like that. That'd be hilarious.
Man, I would hate to have to draw reindeer in a book regularly. Those antlers would drive me up the wall.
Oh,
They're so complex. I've had to draw a lot of deer. I really don't like drawing deer because the antlers are so complex to me. Yeah. Let's see.
Okay, I think I got something down over here. I think this might be the first plus size character I think I've drawn thus far. A lot of firsts being broken on the screen. I'm trying, people. I'm trying. It's definitely something I know I gotta like adjust or make more use out of. Or I gotta start doing a lot more to draw more different body types.
Yeah, if you don't actively pursue doing it, it's real easy to get stuck in only knowing how to do, like your Spider-Man sized guys and your Hulk sized guys and your super stripper style women, and not be able to draw just like average people doing average things, which really kind of ruins some of the super heroics. Like when you bust into a shopping mall to save people and everybody in the shopping mall is super jacked and grimacing because that's the only kind of people you know how to draw. What's the point in having a super jacked hero? Nobody's jacked if everybody's super jacked. But, if you can draw little old men and you can draw fat, dumpy, bald dudes with long beards like me, or you could draw, skinny girls and curvy girls and old women and little girls and all that stuff, then you have a wide selection of people out there, for super jack dude to come save. Kyron asks, so should I stop drawing my super stripper character and draw other types of characters? Being as that's the only thing you can draw, I would just stick with it.
There's nothing wrong with drawing what you know, but sometimes you really need to diversify your style so then that way you can actually, so then that way you can actually like expand upon maybe a character that you thought you never would have done. Like for instance, I had this character idea, if I was ever gonna, when I eventually get to this point to the Unbeatables, it was supposed to be like the love interest for Rocket Fist, and you think that it'll be like this, this hot girl who would be like all into motorbikes or anything like that. Nah, it is like the polar opposite. Like Rocket Fist is the character that Chris and I kind of like managed to work together on, and essentially he's like a garage engineer kind of guy, former villain turned hero, but then he ends up falling in love with this girl who works at a candy shop who's actually a little bit more on the plumper side, and it turns out like, her uncle happens to be a nefarious candy themed supervillain, but I think that would still, it still works. And it also allows me the idea of like drawing, like a muscular guy having to save someone on the plus size ring.
Katie says going to life drawing classes is a really good way to learn to draw different body types, which is absolutely correct. Let's see. Dragon Gaming, what did I get with the, let me pull it up here. With a 4 and a 6, you got either a reindeer or Jack Frost as either a planetary hero or as an alien or robot, I guess you could do, because 7. 6, 7. Benjamin asks, isn't Rocket Fist that character who you originally made in Hero Forge?
Yes, it was my very first episode I've done of like taking a Hero Forge character and then making it into a comic character. But I remember that we ended up doing a little game on one of Mr. Fish's live streams that wasn't like this. And it was the first time I ever played the character. I was originally going to play it for another friend's campaign, and he was still going to have the same like supervillain going to hero arc, but never had the opportunity just because girls' life got in the way. But I really wanted to dive into it. And then when I showed Mr. Fish my rendition of the character, he was overly complicated in design, had way too many small little parts. So when he showed me his rendition of it, I'm like, that's perfect. So I combined, some aspects of my original design, his rendition of like, his sketch design, creating this beautiful, like overall character, this beautiful character design. Till this day is one of my favorite characters. And if I ever had to give him a solo run, I totally would. But I had to focus at least on one thing. So
yeah, it is tough when you get so many ideas and man, I don't even know where that came from. When you get so many ideas and you can't just go chasing them all down. I'm trying to build this guy some sci-fi armor, and one of the things that I picked up from Katie Rooston's art stream that she used to do. Oh, you don't do it. You haven't done it lately, have you? At least I haven't seen it. If you have, but she was painting metal armor in there, and man, she paints metal so beautifully. I could watch it all day long, and it kind of hurts my feelings watching her do it because man, she's good at it. But one of the things she was really harping on one of the episodes was everybody draws the same kind of like shoulder armor over and over and over and over again a million times, and there's so many different styles of shoulder plates and elbow plates and stuff in ancient armor. Oh yeah, Katie's just paints beautiful stuff, period. But yeah, she was like, there's so many different things to pull from. You don't have to draw the same thing over and over again. And that really stood out to me because I realized after she said that, I was using like 3 different styles and using them over and over again. So now I really challenge myself to go looking for new things that I haven't used before or don't use regularly, and try and keep it interesting. Oh, okay. See, now I've never used that. That looks ridiculous. So, all right. Now I want to incorporate that ridiculous looking armor that I just saw. I have no idea what that's supposed to be, but okay. Yeah, I'm stuck now. Now I've got to do this. And you know what I'm going to do?
what are you going to do?
I am going to come over here and
To Florida? That would be great. Best
that
collab
would
ever.
be awesome. I want to get down to Florida. I want to do a con in Florida because
SuperCon and OmegaCon are top 2. SuperCon's in Miami. OmegaCon is actually in the Orlando area. So just letting you know. There are smaller cons too, and I've been to those. Very, very nice.
I want to get into one of the cons down there just so I have a good excuse to come out and visit some folks and say hey and whatnot. Like, well, I'm out in the area anyway. Might as well stop by and say hey. Like when one in the UK finally, flies me out, I'm gonna go by and say hey to Katie and live in her magical garden for a minute, drink tea with a badger and a waistcoat, and do other British things.
Ah, yes. Actually, I was a little envious of my little sister because she actually managed to go through an entire trip to Europe, and she actually got to do all of that kind of stuff.
She drank tea with a badger and a waistcoat at Katie's house? That's
I wish.
amazing.
That would have been awesome. Nah, but it turns out they charge you for what's it called? They charge you for refills, and France is just dirty.
Oh, And there's a dress code, and frankly, I don't even own a waistcoat. So
I think I got a vibe on it. I can see this being like a very no nonsense, like sick of your nonsense kind of grandma. It's like, I told you, Sonny, I said it once, and don't make me say it twice. One who keeps her refined beauty through love and war. Turns out she has to keep fighting the Kramposians, a legion of monster Krampus-like aliens that run rampant through one aspect of the cosmos, and that's why she's like top military leader. Because it turns out her husband, Santa Claus, is actually the best cargo pilot throughout the known galaxy. Hence, why he has to go out and about delivering presents. Maybe he's actually a cargo, a cargo hauler, because he's like, oh, I got to deliver these to the soldiers over here. But also, while I'm over there, I might as well, give out these toys to the kids over at this sector of the planet because they really are digging this whole thing right over here. Who knows? Possibilities are endless, people.
thank you, Philip. I'm glad you like the designs. Katie says she'll take me to find the haggis when I come visit. That's awesome. I would try it. I'm not saying I'd eat a whole thing of it. I might pay for a whole thing of it, but I'm not saying I'm going to eat a whole plate. But I would definitely try it, because I want to be able to say I tried it. If nothing else, I want to be able to say that, I went there and I tried the haggis. I'm not scared of bladders and intestines and livers and whatnots.
I mean, you can definitely tell you're not scared of that because of the mighty Cod, the Cro-Magnon, which you can get now at GoToSugar.com.
Yes, you can. Makes an amazing Christmas gift or New Year's gift, because it ain't gonna get there by Christmas now. But
And I mean, best way to start a new year off by reading one of the best comics of all time, made by one of the sexiest men alive, as he claims himself to be.
I'm saying, oh yeah, Kyron can tell you I was 1993 People Magazine sexiest man alive. I love Kyron so much because he will say whatever I put down in his little questionnaire for the show for Four Tales Podcast, which if you're not watching Four Tales Podcast, you absolutely need to be watching Four Tales Podcast, because it's my favorite podcast. It is one of my top two that I have alarms set to try not to miss. I miss it more now that it's not on Saturday mornings, but I do have alarms set to remind me. I love Four Tales, and I've been on there a few times, and I love filling out the form because we're friends. Danny and Kyron know who I am, but I still have to fill out the questionnaire like I'm a first timer that's never been on the show before, and it's like, how do you pronounce your name and things like that, which is good when you're dealing with crazy people with last names that could have come from anywhere. Or when I
imagine my last name right over here. It's a weird name to pronounce.
Yeah, I only knew Kyron from Facebook, so I didn't hear his name pronounced until we met face to face. So I asked him the exact same thing, and people are always asking me about fish. Does it sound like it's spelled? Yeah, it is. But so I love filling it out as crazy stuff, and now it's even better. Because I know Kyron is going to film an unboxing video when I send him my books, because Kyron is awesome, and I love Kyron. And he's as big a supporter of indie comics as he is, a hardworking, industrious creator in indie comics. And, and he's always supported all of my stuff. His book was one of the first ones I ever backed on Kickstarter. But I know he's going to do an unboxing video, and he's going to read my thank you note out loud on camera, blind for the first time. So when I started the one last time on the campaign before this, was like, what up, bitch? Just because I wanted to hear him read that on camera, and he did not disappoint. I laughed so hard. Then I did it again this time too, but only because I love him. I text Kyron more often than I text my wife. Actually, we send so many memes back and forth to each other. He rates high above my wife, in Messenger, when I go to send something, he's usually first place. If he's not, something's up. Um, yeah, Benjamin says he's shocked that we both rolled Christmas soldiers. But let's see. He also says I did design a variant of Jack Frost whose powers come from mech armor that is mainly ice-based. Oh, see, that's a cool idea. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, I've got the ancient armor design incorporated into this to give, my sci-fi armor a feel, a vibe to it, something a little bit unique that's not necessarily like everything else. But now I also want to incorporate an actual military feel to it. So I'm looking at lots of pictures of military gear and trying to think, how can I incorporate it into it? Because
I'm trying to make her look like an aggressive old granny.
Helmet's really tough to incorporate when you have giant antlers. So, and if you've got big antlers like that, your head is designed to take an impact. So I'm thinking they're not going to worry as much about antlers, about helmets, but the goggles they probably would do. So how do you design goggles or glasses, tactical glasses, for something with its eyes on the sides of its head?
If this design makes sense, absolutely not. Are we going to judge you for that? Potentially in the afterlife. Who knows?
That's the thing I love about designing aliens and stuff, is like, I like making, personally, I always prefer aliens that don't look human. If I can get it as far from looking like a man in a suit as I can possibly do, I'm down for that. But then when you have aliens with 3 legs, or they walk around on all 4s, or, their entire torso opens up as a mouth, or whatever you're doing that's, completely inhuman, then it suddenly boasts a lot of other questions. It makes you ask things like, what kind of clothes would they wear if, like, they don't have fingers? Like, how would you put clothes on and make it make them work? What kind of fasteners? What kind of money system would you use if you have claws instead of fingers? How would you design chairs and furniture in a world where people have 3 legs, or they walk around on all 4s? Because, like, you got to understand how furniture would look before you can make, like, a pilot seat in a spaceship. How does a chair look before you can make the cockpit look right? And I love thinking through all of that stuff. Kyle had some unique looking aliens. Oh yeah, some of them, and most of them are humanoid shaped, but like everybody from his home world mostly are like birds evolved into people, essentially. But then I like throwing in other aliens from other worlds and stuff too, and then I got to do some more fun stuff. Or if they have a mouth on the top of their head, stuff like that. Exactly. That's another thing I like to do, is move the parts of, like, the head around. Like, the eyes don't necessarily have to be above the opening, to your gullet. Like, you could have the mouth be on top and the eyes be on the chest or the shoulders or something if you want. Like, it doesn't have to be based the way our creation did it. Like, there's a million other ways you could do it. And I like playing with that stuff. Oh, also imagine an alien that looks like a centaur. Absolutely. Or would they even wear clothes at all? And see, that's something that I think, some wouldn't. And I think that needs to be included more often. But then I also think a lot of them would, because, like, even if, like, say your Wookiee doesn't need to wear clothes on an average basis because of where they live and their fur and whatnot, if he's going to be traveling in outer space and doing anything with potential loss of atmosphere in his ship, or have to do any work outside of the ship in space, you would need a Wookiee spacesuit. You know, so what would a Wookiee spacesuit look like? Things like that. And when you have soldiers and pilots and stuff traveling through the galaxy, I see them more often in my world as like wearing like old school pilot uniforms or something. Like, what would be the uniform you would wear piloting this ship through outer space? Let's see. I had a thought with my design and the visor for the alien with eyes on the side of its head. Yeah. Unless you want to get anyone screaming, "Ah, it's naked!" Which, you know, which is also a fun thing to play with in stories. Like I've enjoyed some of the stories in worlds like, you know, like the Betazoids in Star Trek getting married in the nude and things. You know, if you're going to go celebrate the wedding with your friends that are getting married, well, everybody's got to be naked because that's the cultural thing.
Alien culture.
Yeah. And I
Is
find
that just men wanting to have the excuse to draw, you know, their alien women in such positions? Maybe.
And the thing I like most is when like Star Trek handled that, it usually was to make the men uncomfortable. You know, like they took something that, you know, if it had been done in like a 70s comic book story, it would have been like, he all I wanted to shoot these naked women, I turned her. But done in like Star Trek The Next Generation, it's like Picard and Riker that are very uncomfortable with the idea of having to be naked in front of all of these people. And, you know, but then the women that are involved are Betazoids, so they're not really, you know, worried about it. Kyron says clothing is overrated anyways. That's why he's always in trouble. People are always chasing him through the neighborhood. Can't be walking the dog naked, Kyron. They keep telling you that, but he keeps not listening.
Oh, come on, Kyron. You're better than that.
Too good for clothes, Kyron. That's what we called him in high school.
All right, maybe because I like the little bangs that I give her, but I'm like, yeah, I like this more, you know, giving her this. I guess I'm going more military by giving her a little beret. Making it look like a little Christmas tree type of
Is that a
badge.
claws core?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking when I thought of military soldier. I'm like, oh, like the Claws Corps, or you know, like since you said it like that, but it's like she's, you know, one of the high-ranking members. If anything, is like second in command to the Claws Corps.
Mm-hmm.
An independent rank within this government, within the northern sector of the galaxy. Cold, barren, but yet somehow managed to find life.
Oh yeah, this whole sector of space is the Northern Territories. That would be funny.
Actually, I actually came up with another sci-fi character concept called Bruno Buck. I don't know why the name just sounds like a fun, like roguish, you know, rough and tough kind of hero who just kind of barely makes it through the galaxy, has to steal a bunch of different kind of spaceships, and I was like, oh, Bruno Buck, you know, the space outlaw, think like Star-Lord, but like actually like a legit cowboy. And he's like, I'm from the western sector of the galaxy, and I want to make my way eastward. And then he comes across like, you know, alien ninja samurais and whatnot. Because I think that would be
Sounds like a fun book right there.
Jupiter Jack versus Bruno Buck. Come on. It's a title waiting to be written. It's just the only downside is that T.S. Luther really wants to do the absolute rendition of Jupiter Jack, so he wants to do absolute Jupiter Jack.
Oh yeah. What's different about the absolute version? Like,
So in the absolute universe, for context, there's something that has to be taken away from the members of the JLA. So for Wonder Woman, she no longer grew up in Themyscira, but she grew up in Haiti. Superman never fully lived on Earth as a person. His humanity was taken away. Batman, his wealth was taken away. So now he's like a working man. Hence why he was like an absolute unit, if you will, being like a brick house, being a construction worker. You know, the fact that he had to actually work and not be like this billionaire guy. So what is it that we would have to take away from Jupiter Jack? I feel like we would have to take the wonder and the whimsy away from Jack himself. I feel like he would be that kind of a fun, cosmic, like rogue, not like, the fun roguish kind of hero where he's like, oh, how dare you? Time to get you back into the slammer. But like he's
the kind of guy that like laughs with his kid sidekicks after the adventure. When will he learn crime doesn't pay?
Exactly. And then like Meteor Mandy was also kind of like that fun little like, jumping off point where it's like, oh, how about it's like, oh, you're going to have to know how this works in the slammer. Meteor Mandy pops in, adding on to the joke. But in this case, absolute Jupiter Jack would actually have no wonder, no whimsy in his overall, like form of just in his being in general, because maybe he's actually been part more into the grim reality of being a space hero, having to actually fight in wars, actually having to suffer the repercussions of what he had to do. And maybe the event occurs where he does obtain the powers of being able to grow to the size of Jupiter, having these cosmic abilities, but knowing that there's a consequence to it, not looking at it from a sense of wonder. And that would be like the take on the story that throughout Jupiter Jack's entire, throughout the absolute rendition, is that he has to learn how to bring back the joy and the whimsy. And then maybe like this rendition of Meteor Mandy actually probably was born from a meteor. So she would look like this cool rock looking kind of a girl who actually was born from a meteor shot down. And it was probably the reason why Jupiter Jack can even grow out anyways. We're just giving T.S. Luther free money here. Come on, man. Man, I'm yapping. Yapping.
So I wonder what got taken away from Martian Manhunter. Because I've seen snippets of the absolute Martian Manhunter book of people doing like reviews and stuff of the story, or like recaps of the story, and I'm curious what got taken away from him from the one that we know.
That's actually a really good point. I believe it's the fact that he's not a Martian. They took away that fact that he's a Martian because he's actually like a telepathic alien that travels through like person to person. So the person that we're actually following is an actual legitimate cop who just now happens to be, partnering up with the Martian Manhunter. But the thing is, he calls himself a Martian, but he's not really a Martian. He says it's just for clarification. Be like, I'm a Martian, okay, just generally speaking.
I see, said the blind man.
To his deaf brother. There we go.
Kyron says, I haven't read the Absolute books yet, but I heard it was created by Darkseid. Is that true?
Yes. So the entire universe was created by Darkseid to kind of like see if the heroes would even still be heroes, even if there was like a core aspect of them kind of taken away. Again, take away Superman's humanity. Will he still save her? Take away the idea that, Wonder Woman was grown in Themyscira with the Amazons. Or like, would Batman still be Batman even if he didn't have his millions and his billions to make his crime-fighting gadgets, and instead it was given to the Joker? It's like that kind of that's the kind of unique take on such a thing as that.
I can dig it. That's a cool idea. I wish I could keep up with modern like Marvel and DC, but there's just so many books and so many storylines going on, and that's one of the things that I really like about indie comics is, if I find something I love, it's pretty easy to get like the whole series and check it out. Like if you read an issue of Saw the Lightning Wielder, then if you like it, you can get like all, 4 issues maybe you're on now, Kyron? 3 or 4? Something like that. But you can get the whole thing pretty easily. Like Ace Blade has a lot of books out, but they're like on 11 or something maybe. I mean like 9, I can't remember. Anyway, like it's not like you got to buy 50 books, and you know, I love that. Issue 5 is being developed now for Saw, so that's awesome.
And it's like, and I like it. I know where you're going with it, because like with Marvel and DC, if you want to get context, or at least more context as to what's in
Oh,
we're talking about, it's like you have to do God knows how much homework and reading. Now, don't get me wrong, for those who enjoy Marvel and DC, that's probably not a problem to them, because like, oh, I get to have the excuse to buy more comics. But then
but
it's
that's
also
like,
like,
if you have the time to invest in it, if you have the money to invest in it.
exactly.
do it.
And I would rather invest in indie comics knowing that I'm going to get a straightforward, like story. Like I would rather read Invincible rather than, a particular line of Daredevil comics, even though Daredevil is one of my favorite heroes. But it's like, at least I know that with Invincible, I know what I'm getting into. I know that it's made by the same person. Maybe sure, a little different artists here and there, maybe the artists improve over time, but at least I know the story is consistent. I know that there's a and a B and eventually going to Z. And that's what I love about indie comics, because some comics are like that. I actually remember as a kid, I was trying to like come up with my own comic universe and stuff like that. And then I actually planned the idea for reboots, because that's how common it was. So I thought, oh, it was only natural that you have to reboot the universe. Oh, well. And then now realizing, I'm like, oh, that is just annoying.
Oh man, yeah. And and so much stuff that is only done just to make a buck irritates me. Coming up with cool ideas that, incorporate all the other characters and, make the story crossover. Great. If you have a great, fun idea for something, I want to hear it. But if we just, okay, it's time to do a crossover because we have to make, we have to force all the Batman readers that don't read Wonder Woman to buy a Wonder Woman comic to try and trick them into, starting to support Wonder Woman. I don't like that. And the thing is, the book should appeal to different people. Like, different people should like different types of stories, and we should have those types of stories to like them. Like, if I really dig Wonder Woman, that's also awesome. But that doesn't mean that Kyron has to dig Wonder Woman. And, it's totally cool if he prefers Daredevil or something. And I hate the gimmicky corporate, let's make them have to buy everything, or we'll only tell them, enough of the story to get them excited, but they can't have a whole story in one book. They have to go buy all of these different books to get the whole story and to know what happens. That irritates me. That's not done from a point of making it cool. That's done from a point of let's make as much money off of them as possible.
Which, I mean, they're a business after all, so then unfortunately they have to look at all the business avenues of that,
Yeah,
and
but there's doing business, and then there's somebody said it well the other day that late stage capitalism is getting to the point now where it feels like the corporations are mad at us for standing between them and our money. And I kind of that's what a lot of those corporate cash grabs feel like to me. It feels like an angry way to snatch my money rather than, here's something that people that love these stories thought would be cool and that you would enjoy. But like you said, with things like Invincible and stuff, like you can tell a cool story and make it fun and exciting, and people will come out in droves to want to support it.
And it's like, and this is where, like, for me, I miss, and again, I it's not like I've ever been in this era, but I like the idea of a fun pulp style era, an era in which you're able to just grab a comic book, enjoy it, read it, have fun with it, and then when you're done, that was it. Everything was in the confines of that little story, and you're all good to go. Like, I can imagine back then, Batman issues were all like one and done books, and they all had their own singular adventures. It was one and done. Everyone had a fun time, and that was it. Nothing more, nothing less. It was perfect, right? But then now we have all these crazy continuities and all these timeline events and all these characters and stuff like that. And it's like, don't get me wrong, the characters are cool, but then also it's like, can we just probably like enjoy something new? Like, yes, probably revamp the character if we need to. I like what DC does whenever they create like maybe an alternate universe, or again, the Absolute Universe is a really great example of it. The Ultimate Universe is a fantastic example of, you know, like getting to start fresh and new and actually let people dive into it. Plus, people want to see Spider-Man, you know, actually have a happy life. Shocker, you know? It's like some characters I feel like need to have their ending and let them just indulge in their life, and then other characters, you know, probably should be explored a little more. Nice Elf Soldier, but the relation to the 3 characters I rolled last week. Ooh, see, that's the whole point of the show. Hold on, so Benjamin over here said, I just had a great idea for my Elf Soldier, but in relation to the 3 characters I rolled last week. See, you're developing your own universe from the characters that we just rolled with plastic math rocks, and I'm digging it, even though I don't have a shovel.
Kyron says, whoa, Fish, hating on Guile, now capitalism. You're starting to sound like you hate America. Next you know, you say you hate daylight savings time. Man, don't even get me started on daylight savings time. You weren't there for that one, because that was a couple of years ago. Kyron and Katie were there, and I rolled up some random powers, and I was drawing like a cephalopod or something character, and I got the blob shape of a rough octopus sketched out, and then I think maybe Kyron got me started on daylight savings time, and I went on a like 2-hour rant just about everything, from daylight savings time to capitalism to the big banks to institutional racism to all kinds of things, and got pretty choked up at times, and just had a very cathartic rant for a while, and it got really deep, and they have not let me forget that since.
Was it as deep as the Kaiju episode?
Oh, Sarah started us on daylight savings time. Yeah, it was something. As deep as which time?
The what's it called, the Kaiju episode?
Oh, with Mog. Yeah, that one got deep too. I tell you, man, Mog asks questions, and sometimes they're weird and wild, and sometimes feel really out of left field, but she's always got some reason behind what she's asking, and I just love being on their show. And it was fun getting to have her on ours.
That was fantastic. All right.
And I usually make money on their show, which is nice too. Because
we gotta find a way to monetize this.
We draw stuff live and traditionally, and auction it off in the comments. And so I usually come out making at least about $100 off that show, which is always fun.
Never against that. Okay. I'm digging it. I'm digging it, even though I got no shovel. Okay.
First time I was on that show was with Kyron, and he beat me on the auction. He got way more for his drawing than I did. It was so deep, you didn't even finish the drawing. Oh, yeah. I got a sketch of the rough shape of like an octopus out or something, and then that was it. That was as far as I got.
Okay, now the real question is, do I make this a black Mrs. Claus or a white Mrs. Claus? I think I know what I'm doing. I don't see many. I've seen a few black Santas, but I've never seen a black, Mrs. Claus. So,
you just ain't been looking hard enough.
You're probably right, but it has. I have
tell you
not
what
seen.
You go to www.blackmrsclaus.
Yo, I don't know if I need to be on such sites as that. Not that
Probably
I'm racist.
not, no. Eskimo Mrs. Claus. It's Inuit. Thank you very much, Kyron. You're racist.
Hey, listen, that's why I love NASCAR, okay? Don't get it twisted.
I have I have a tick with my Tourette's that I'm going to try and not trigger. That has to do, that uses the word Eskimo, that I've had for years since I was like in middle school. And I try not to trigger it because it's got profanity and what in it. And usually, if I swear with my Tourette's, I usually sound like I swear like I'm in middle school, which is usually like weird and out of place and more silly than insulting. But this particular one uses that word and in it, and when I start to tick that for very long, eventually it will start to bother me that I'm using that word and not Inuit. And then the tick will change to a secondary tick that is, blank an Eskimo, not an Inuit. So it's like doubling down. The tick is doubling down on what it's saying and not even letting me try and change the tick to be more culturally sensitive. No, can't do that. It wouldn't be Corporal Ollie if it wasn't trying to be as. I tell you, Corporal Ollie is a crazy thing. Like, it sounds sometimes like it can be so intentional. Like, I've heard some kids with Corporal Ollie and some grown adults and stuff. I know, because I have a lot of friends in the Tourette's world now. I wish I'd had more growing up, but I have a lot of friends in the Tourette's world now, and have heard many a tick, and it can sound so intentional sometimes and sound like it's aimed directly at you when it's not, but it's so weird. And also, I think a lot of times, what triggers a lot of ticks. What's up, J-Man? Good to see you. Merry Christmas. I think what triggers a lot of it with a lot of people is anxiety to a point. And like when your Aunt Barbara comes to a family get together, that we're not supposed to mention the divorce, and we're not supposed to mention that her husband ran off with that 20-year-old blonde bimbo with the big boobs, and we're not supposed to mention all the weight she put on since the divorce, and we're not supposed to mention her drinking problem, because these are all socially unacceptable things that we're not going to talk about and make her feel bad. And for the average neurotypical brain, your brain would say, okay, these are the things that we don't talk about. We're going to categorize that, stick it off to one side, talk about everything else. But our brains will start to stress out over that part that we're not supposed to say, and until eventually that's what ends up coming out. That's what ends up shooting out instead of, and it can work super fast sometimes, and it can work faster than I can think sometimes. But so it can feel really aimed when two guys are walking through Walmart, and my buddy yells out that they must be gay or something, and it feels like he's particularly trying to insult these two guys that are walking next to each other, but it's just those two guys being in vicinity triggered that thing in the back of his head that triggered that tick. It's crazy, man. I'm lucky most of my Corporal Ollie is not super offensive. Most of it's just stupid, like yelling out things like hot potato or yellow rubber tugboat or something stupid, or knowing's half the battle, G.I. Joe. But it can sometimes, man, it can be so fast sometimes, the stuff it comes out with. And sometimes, honestly, it can be pretty funny. Sometimes it can be funnier than I can. But it still fascinates me, even though it's made my life miserable a lot of the time. It is fascinating. Let's see. Benjamin says, but I do have to admit, I cheated a bit for my gothic superhero universe. It has sci-fi elements, and I fused my original characters, creating anti-heroes. Cool.
Hey, listen, there are no other rules. You know, if you want to combine, listen, we put aliens in a steampunk universe. For all we know, we could actually somehow divert this entire sci-fi thing, and we could just shove ourselves right back into that whole thing all over again. You create your characters, you have fun with it. The whole point of this show is to basically just have fun, roll up some fun characters, challenge your imagination to see how a character design works, or just Frankenstein it and just see how weird of a thing that you end up making comes out. So it's like, again, it's just the roll of the dice. And that's why I love the show, because I never know what I draw, and that is always like the most interesting aspect of this show, because I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to draw, but I know it's going to be a lot of fun today.
Oh yeah, if you had let me pick what I was going to draw, I would have been drawing an ace of giant like Icemen or something for an alien planet that would be fun bad guys to throw at, you know, Jupiter Jack. Or I would have done, you know, a bunch of like soldier elves from outer space. Doing a freaking reindeer with a jetpack and a goofy suit of ancient armor and stuff, and trying to make him look militant and a little Christmassy at the same time. I never would have tried to do that.
I mean, so far I'm kind of digging this like militaristic Santa, Mrs. Claus over here.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that I decided to go around making her black, I think that was just kind of, I think I'm like, you know what? Again, I really need to challenge myself. I have drawn maybe a good handful of black adjacent characters. I did a lot of fantasy elves, a lot of black elves, and some other warriors here and there. But I don't think I've ever done like any, like, it's never really crossed my mind. So I really want to also really push myself beyond that and feel like I need to diversify my art.
It really meant a lot to me when I was illustrating 5-star, and I had a lot of black comic creators that I love and respect tell me what a good job I did drawing the characters in 5-star. And that meant a lot to me, because I realized at one point in high school, and in high school, I was, you know, in a small town in South Arkansas, and like the student body was 3/4 black to 1/4 white kids. So like most of the people around me all day in school were black, and good portion of the teachers were black, administrators, like, so there's a lot of black faces around me all day. And I realized I had only really taught myself to draw white faces like Superman and Green Lantern and, you know, Batman, and I couldn't just easily draw a picture of the Homecoming Queen because I hadn't trained myself how to do that. And when I realized I had such a huge deficiency in my artistic ability, that I wasn't going to stand for that. So it became a mission to learn how to draw black faces well and not draw them to look like a caricature or something like you'll see in some old anime and stuff, which was current anime when I was growing up. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But so, you know, I started studying the people in class with me and stuff, and I still do to this day. Like when I'm talking with my daughter-in-law, like I'm looking at the way her eyes look when she smiles and stuff, and the way her nose moves when she's laughing and things like that. I'm looking at my grandkids' faces, and I'm still studying, man, to this day. But it brought me a lot of joy to have so many different creators tell me that I did a good job. And it shows that the hard work paid off, man. You just got to start doing
that. Comic art makes you not racist. Don't be racist, be an artist. Learn how to draw all kinds of faces, and therefore, racism ends. Because then there's appreciation towards other individuals.
Let's
Yep.
see. What color? I think I'm gonna start with a green.
Actually, when I saw you kind of put goggles on your reindeer there, I'm like, I gotta probably do that for mine. Not give her goggles, but I'm gonna kind of like let them hang around, her neck or whatever.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. Okay, I'm really digging this. It's like I feel like I need to add something else, but I don't know what else to add. I feel like maybe this is like a less is more kind of a situation. Like I think I may have added everything that I needed to add. Design of Mrs. Claus reminds me of a mix of Starship Troopers and something from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I've never seen League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, nor have I not seen Starship Troopers, but I know what you're talking about. Because when I thought of militaristic Mrs. Claus, I'm like, okay, I can see this being like a really rough and tough kind of lady and whatnot, being very assertive. The original was gonna make her white, but I was like, nah, let's actually do something different. And I'm actually kind of really glad that I went this route.
Yeah, she's looking good.
Looking fabulous.
I try and like a lot of times when I'm creating new characters now, I'm starting to ask myself like, what cultures have I not included? Like I famously in my little realm, in Green Zone for the longest time, the character who is now Danny Kim, who is one of the 4 main characters in the book, he was Latino for the longest time. And it wasn't until I was watching interview with the Korean actor who was on Hawaii Five-0 remake that was super popular at the time on CBS. I was watching an interview with him, and they were asking him something about what was it like, playing I believe his character is Japanese or something on the show. And, what is it like being a Korean actor and playing a Japanese character or whatever the character he's playing is supposed to be. And he's like, I'm so used to it because nobody ever writes Korean characters. It's always either Chinese or Japanese characters. And, most writers and stuff don't even really think about the other Asian cultures that are out there. And when I heard him say that, I was like, oh man, he's right. I never would have even really thought about it. So I instantly went and changed what I was doing and changed Danny Kim to be Danny Kim. And honestly, I like him a lot more now as a character. Not that having a Latino lead character would have been bad at all, but also there's a lot of Latino representation out there. And
there is. I will say there's probably more Latino representation than there is. Well, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I feel like there is a lot more Latino than there is like Asian or a variety of Asian. Because we have Mexican, we have Colombian kind of being displayed in some other parts here and there.
And there's lots of like say Puerto Rican characters and stuff being shown, like especially in like the New York shows, like Law and Order and stuff. Like having Puerto Rican or Dominican detectives and stuff on there is pretty commonplace. But you don't have a lot of Korean detectives showing up on there, and so it's like, all right, that's a good reason. That was a good reason for me to want to make a change like that. Not just, oh, let's do something. But if somebody's telling me that they legit aren't seeing their people being represented in media, then by George, I can do something about that. At least in my little corner of it.
Hey, and that's always a fantastic effort too. You know, he's actually going out of the way to really show that there are other people that can make up fantastic stories. Again, it's a really memorable, it's a really honorable thing too, because it's not only that, but you're also learning a lot about different facial structures. You're learning about how the reasons why they the way that they look. It's not just
man, I spent so much time trying not to sound like a racist on Google, trying to find examples of what makes somebody look Korean and not Japanese, and to try and find what was I going to incorporate into this guy to make him feel unique to this culture that I was trying to do. I was trying to do a decent job of representing. Did I or not? I don't know. But one of the most beautiful things of the whole thing led to, down the road, I ended up becoming friends with Mog and Mel. We're on the show together on SketchUp a lot. They have me on their show to draw and stuff. We have a great time. We became friends. And as it came time to introduce Danny's mom in the book, because his dad had been in there since the first issue, because he's the sergeant over their unit. But it was time to introduce his mom in book 4, and there came this one scene where she's standing face to face with, and she's a human. Her husband is a genome, but she's a human, and her husband is a very human looking genome, and her son's a genome, but he just looks like a Korean kid. And then all of a sudden, she's in the hospital standing in front of this 8-foot tall lizard monster dude who's got all the skin burned off his back and just saved her husband and her son's life. And I was like, what would this skinny little woman say or do standing in front of this big behemoth of a monster with, open flesh wounds all over the back of his body and blisters, and he looks like this big terrifying monster. And I was having a hard time coming up with what felt like a realistic reaction from her. And so I called up Mog and I asked her, I was like, okay, your mom moved to this country, very similar situation, would have been here about the same amount of time. What would your mom do in this situation if she was face to face with this giant monster in the hospital that just saved your life? And when she told me what her mom would do, it broke my heart and made me start to choke up. And I instantly had to rewrite the last half of the story, and it's changed the arc that Green Zone will be going on from this point forward. And the mom has now become a much bigger character because of that reaction. But that reaction was so beautiful, so out of left field, and so genuine for who this character in that situation would be. And I understand that motivation well enough to really be able to run with well, if she had that reaction, then she's going to do this and she's going to do that. She's not going to stand for this. And it's so beautiful. I had to add pages to the book just because of the reaction that she gave me. I had to add pages later to have her and his dad have an argument and stuff later on about what's going to happen, and just changes the whole arc of the story now because of what Mog said. And if you want to know what she said, you can pick it up in issue 4 of Green Zone. Issues 1 through 4 are available now at MrFishComics.com or on the TikTok shop, Mr. Fish Comics. But yeah, it's beautiful. I love it so much. And it really kind of surprised me. It was not what I was thinking, but it made for such a beautiful story. I love it.
We're always here for a fantabulous story. Right, I'm kind of going a little bit of a strategic different. Lord,
Benjamin said he imagines that my reindeer soldier married the daughter of Mr. Claus and Santa Claus, or Mrs. Claus and Santa Claus. Sorry. Are you okay, babe? I hear my wife choking in the other room.
Oh no.
Leaves a man scared. She's been coughing for a couple of minutes. She probably just swallowed something, drink wrong. And,
Hopefully she'll be okay.
yeah, it'd been long enough. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be a bad husband if I don't check at this point. Make sure she's not actually in there dying. But that's also like back to Mog. That's the thing about collaboration, like working with different people, like getting to work with TS on the Alice Lost in Wonderland series now has made it so much more interesting a book than it was going to be. And like it was going to be a fun, violent adventure with lots of time travel and bar fights and stuff. But he's really brought a depth of emotion to it that it probably wouldn't have had, at least not this early yet. And I'm grateful for it because he's really made it a more interesting story getting to work with him. And I wouldn't have that if we weren't collaborating together on it.
I tried something different here. I just don't know how I feel about it.
It's not bad. It seems like a lot of white. Maybe added a little shadow or something to it.
Maybe. I mean,
but then also my first thought is like, man, I would get stains on that so fast.
right. Maybe probably add some yellow. Oh, not that much. Not that much yellow. Yeller. I barely know her. Huh? There we go. All right. I feel like I'm getting somewhere, but I feel like I am, but I don't know.
I feel like I'm getting somewhere, but I keep wandering off.
Exactly. I thought this could be like an alternate costume, but because I got like good strategic battle, like combat ready looking, Mrs. Claus over here, and I was trying to go for that regal kind of vibe, but I'm like, I feel like she would wear this in like the commanding offices, like in the commanding officer, like regions within the northern sector of the galaxy. Like time for the High Council has to talk to the High Elves. Like, listen, we have to take the cookie consumption down by 50%, okay? And at an all-time high, and don't get me wrong, I'm a macaroons kind of gal. All right, but listen, we have to cool it down a notch. All right, the more higher the cookie production goes, I don't even think we're gonna even be able to match the toy sales. But please, we're just gonna need to just cool it.
Have you guys ever even heard of a profit margin?
Have you ever heard of it? It's like, no, because we get this crap out for free, Mrs. Claus. You know what I would really love to see in media at some point in time? I would love to see an elf in a Christmas movie have an unnecessarily deep voice. Like, looks cute, has the little, rosy cheeks, the little button nose, depending on, whichever. But just has the unnecessarily deep voice of a Ford F-150 commercial host. Like just be like, okay, hi, you're the tiny elf that has the voice deeper than the ocean itself. I always find that hilarious.
Let's see. I'm looking for a Tinky Winky. That is I.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. I'm Tinky Winky. It's like, okay, totally threw me off there.
Thank you, Philip. They are cool drawings. So would Mr. Fish's character eat alien carrots? Probably would.
Hey,
protein. He avoids alien sugar cubes because he's got the alien type 2 diabetes.
The alien tattooed diabetes. Wait, before hold on the options, what were 4 and 6? So on the characters, that is Jack Frost for 6, and 4 is a reindeer, and then we have
Planetary Hero and Alien. So yeah,
and an alien. It's funny because we got like classic space hero, alien bounty hunter, the minion of an evil overlord, Mrs. Claus in space. Don't you just love this show?
I do. I love the wild directions that it takes us in. I never in a million years would have come up with Mystic Medic if it hadn't have just been for the random roll that we got that day on the show.
Oh yeah, Soul Wave was a really cool character too. That was a really interesting episode. Especially, it was interesting because it was the last episode of season 1 of Roll for Hero.
Yeah, it has been a fun show, and it's been so much more fun to come up with characters with a friend and to be able to look at what both of us can do with the same set of prompts, and that has been so much more fun than just doing it by myself. Because I can come up with cool stuff, but then people can just say like, well, but that's Fish, like he just does that, he's got some magical whatever that lets him do that. But no, it's just you could go in any kind of direction with the same things. That's one of the things I really like about like when we have the same prompt but come up with wildly different versions of what that could be, because you could take it in any direction. It doesn't just have to be one thing.
That's one of my favorite aspects of this show, because we get to see how two different artists really like dive in and like create something similar and yet something different at the same time. That's what I love about this show. And again, it's like I never in a million years thought I would draw any of the things that I would draw here. Ranging from me drawing a sci-fi Mrs. Claus to a steampunk alien to a cougar themed supervillainous, and the two bird sisters that live in a cyberpunk world that happens to team up with the public domain superhero of the American Eagle, and it's like,
Invisible Dr. Hyde
and a Frankenstein werewolf.
Yeah, like it's been fun. The giant disease kaiju was cool too.
I will admit that was not my best art. Like, yeah, the monster I drew, I felt like I just drew generic blob monster 482. Just felt super generic. I was like, yeah, it's a monster. Does it look like something that Ultraman would fight in a classic Tokusatsu episode? Potentially. Okay. I think I'm kind of liking the little spotted patterns to kind of help, separate it, but the red on this one is a bit much. Imagine a Santa Claus from Steampunk Universe marries cyberpunk Mrs. Claus. That would be some strange technology being developed in that sector of the North Pole, man.
I was originally thinking a lot more colorful on his armor, but I'm kind of liking a little more realistic on it. I don't know. Like, I was thinking about doing like bright red plates and then green, but I don't know. I'm kind of liking the trim.
I'm kind of also digging this a little bit as well.
Oh, wow. I hadn't seen it with the patterns on there.
The patterns, I think, definitely saved this design a little bit. So again, we have more of the high commanding rule kind of Mrs. Claus, and then we have, battle ready, actually on the battlefield, laser pistol in hand, ready to like fight off, the Krampus Snorians or whatever it is. Like this, I could see being on the battlefield, ready to fight, and then this one's more of a decorated, like, okay, time for me to actually like be presentable, and my husband here. Finally, you're here.
Saint Nick, Karen says, what if Mrs. Claus is now militant because she's throwing a coup against Mr. Claus? Oh,
well, what did the OG Santa Claus do then?
That could be something. And it could be a good coup or a bad coup. It could be, Santa's has gotten so far on the side of everybody's naughty that he's just, giving out cold to everybody, and she's fighting for the side of love and compassion. Or it could be, she's gone totally corporate and like, we need to start charging kids for toys, and, the rich kids get better stuff and the poor kids, they can get on a payment plan if they want toys. Who knows? Like it could be any number of things.
Just trying to like see if I can do like a snowflake design or something like that. Not gonna lie, this kind of reminds me, weirdly enough, of Red One. that action Christmas movie of with Dwayne The Rock Johnson in there, and J.K. Simmons as Santa Claus.
Yeah, I know the movie you're talking about. I just never saw it.
It's
Yeah,
a pretty
dude.
fun. It's one of those like super cheesy action films. Like, it's one of those things where like I unfortunately know that in every movie that The Rock is in, he is never allowed to lose. That's actually part of his contract. He's never allowed to lose in any of his movies. So it's like, okay, kind of sucks, but it's still like a cheesy, Christmas action flick. I think everyone should check it out. It's such a fun time. Okay, hold up. I like the idea of that little. Ooh. Okay, wait, maybe. Wait. I'm thinking. As usually, as my future wife would say, that's dangerous. Me thinking, oh boy, that's a problem and then some.
Here we go again.
Right? My poor lady. She's just always there, having to listen to me on nerd rants. And she's like, I love it when you do your nerd rants. I'm like, you lie to me, woman. I know you do.
I feel so bad for my wife sometimes because I just go on and on and on about story ideas and stuff for books that she has and probably isn't going to read. Doggone Comics says, Merry Christmas. Sorry I'm late, guys. I was doing something with family. Well, family comes first and the uncles come second. Glad you're here.
Exactly. That's exactly what my niece is going to be experiencing this holiday. She got her family coming up first. And
So
she'll
if
be
Santa
visiting
has
her Uncle Lee.
reindeer soldiers, asked Benjamin. Oh no, I think Santa has an entire legion of reindeer soldiers. I think he has 8 elite captains. I think is what he has, and each one of them is in charge of their own platoon, and maybe even with their own specialties. Maybe Blitzen is in charge of airdrops and stuff, and just blitz the competition with all out attacks. But maybe Donner is in charge of underwater demolitions or something. I don't know. That could be cool.
I think this might be just enough. Honestly, I kind of have 2 different.
Dang it! You know what I just realized? I went with Christmas themed colors, and if anything, they should have Arctic camouflage. Dang it! Can you give me a brief rundown of who these guys are? I know they're Christmas themed, but what are their powers and stuff? This time we kept it simple, and we just rolled off of 2 charts that were the occupation, were they military soldier, mech pilot, planetary hero, cyborg, alien, or robot? We got 7 options, and we're rolling on 1d6, so that was a little bit of a mistake.
That was on me. That was a dumb goof in the middle of the night on me. So.
And here's my arrow I was looking for. And the other one was the character: Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, elf, reindeer, snowman, or Jack Frost. And where he got a military Mrs. Claus, I got a soldier reindeer. And so we both ended up with soldiers and decided to see what we could come up with it. Which is funny that we both rolled the same thing. So
yeah,
Rudolph would be commander of the reindeer soldiers. I think that's a fun idea. I think that's fun, having 8 battalion chiefs, or whatever, that captain his squad of reindeer, and each one of them has different special tactics and whatever. I think that would be really cool.
And then
That's
having That would be. This is gonna be such a. There are so many covers that I have to draw for Jupiter Jack on the Roll for Hero recaps. By the way, honestly, for those who actually stick around on my channel, I know I've been like really on such harsh delays with videos. Adjusting to a new life that I have been recently acquiring. Just again, I'm trying to keep things vague for now, just because on the DL, it's so annoying. But long story short, I'm probably gonna have to start posting videos. Like, I want to post something. This is the reason why I also love the show, is because it's at least some content that I can get out there for you guys to actually enjoy. But also, like, you're not probably gonna see any other form of like proper edited videos, the little cartoon avatar of myself, until like next year. Honestly, I'm gonna probably like go ahead, like stock up actually making the videos, and then we're gonna have those properly scheduled out so that I can actually like focus on making more videos, at least for the channel, and then also having the ability to work on, you know, comics and all that other kind of stuff. So so for anyone who's just wondering like, oh, where are the videos at? Trust me, I want to make them too. Just getting hit with the exhaustion stick and actually having to be in other positions in life is really, really tough. So
Man, you ain't lying. I've been trying to get anything done, and I haven't been able to do both. I haven't been able to get the long form videos out that I wanted to make on these, and get books and stuff made, and get client work out on time. And so I've had to go easy on myself and focus on the things that I can do, and give myself a break on the things that I can't get to. So I wonder if that's not better. I mean, it's definitely better Arctic camouflage than that is.
I'm actually doing some of that Arctic stuff myself right now.
No, I'm thinking he's got to have like a battalion for different terrains and stuff too. So like that would work. Now I really want to do the underwater demolitions one. That seems so funny to me, having a reindeer. Did you know moose graze underwater in the ocean? Like, they are such good swimmers. Moose can swim out into the ocean and graze on seaweed underwater, like swim down and just sit there munching and grazing on seaweed. So much so that moose have been known to be killed by killer whales.
We live in a weird world. We live in a real strange.
Not be that way. I would like to get all the way to a finished cover, but I'm not going to, because we've got Christmas Eve dinner in a few minutes.
And for me, I have an entire Christmas feast of McDonald's that I already consumed, and I will be snacking on the rest of whatever this is. It's like Chex Mix covered in chocolate with some Cheerios and pretzels and whatnot. So some of those sweet and salty Christmas time snacks. So it's gonna be great. All right, I feel like the design overall is like a fun universal concept here, because here's my Arctic rendition of Mrs. Claus over here. Like the Arctic suit, and then hold on, now I get back to this, like a red little snowflake. So then that way, it actually. Dang, now I got to whole new layer. Come on, man! I gotta make a whole new layer. Yeah.
Oh yeah, have I tried Hero Forge? I have. Actually, that is where I designed the. I don't have one handy. That's where I designed the 3D miniatures that I've been using in my campaign for like when you support at a high level, you get like a miniature of Alice or Rabbit. Captain Hook is going to be the next one out. That's where I've been doing it, because it's so easy to get them set up and have a nice 3D model for it.
And I was also going to say, speaking of 3D models, so I kind of already mentioned how like the Future Wife and I have been more or less kind of like, we already know what we got each other, we're still wrapping it up and all that kind of fun stuff. But I was thinking, right, this is the part where it is truly dangerous, because this is something for Roll for Hero, and we don't have to do like a Hero Forge model. But what if, depending on which universe we tend to work on the most, whichever one's the most beloved or whichever one y'all really like a lot, depending on like the love of setting, what if we ended up developing like 3D miniatures or 3D, like action figures that could be printed and shipped off to you guys? Probably like a limited run. It would be like a tight limited run. But imagine having the characters of like Jupiter Jack, the evil villain characters, the minion characters, of this entire science fiction universe. Because again, I'm getting a 3D printer, so I want to see how that all kind of works out. But like, imagine getting like a 3D printed Jupiter Jack action figure, and all the other characters, that happen to live within his universe, ranging from, say this this Mrs. Claus and potentially this reindeer. Like, what would you all think about that?
That's the thing. That's one of the reasons that I continue doing the minifigures for my books, because A, they're cool, and B, the characters are cool enough that you could use them in any setting. Like a guy in a trench coat with a sword and a backpack, you could use that for anything in any setting. But Alice would fit into a whole lot of different settings. Big Ten could fit into a lot of different settings. But eventually, I'm going to have a whole lot of these figures, and I'm fixing to start screen printing, and I'm going to start screen printing like my boxes and stuff so I can bring down the cost on my specialty boxes. So instead of getting like DTF prints to put on there, I'm going to do like a one color screen print all over the entire box. But what I was thinking is, down the road, it would be fun to do one kind of like a Happy Meal, where you could unfold the box and it becomes a game board or something that you can play with those characters on. Or maybe even at one point down the road, release like an actual game board that has, like cards and stuff to go with it. And then all the minis that we've created up into this point could be the figures that you play the game with. And, have it be a game where you're hunting Rabbit or something, trying to find him, and he's portaling around the game board, and you have to travel around and get clues to where he is, and travel over there and get there, and amass weapons and comrades to help you in the battle and whatnot. It'd be so cool. Imagine if the heroes that were rolled being placed in different settings, like the Birds of Feathers sister in a medieval fantasy world. Oh yeah. See, that stuff would be fun too, which could be another fun thing to do one of these seasons down the road. Like, go back and revisit some of the things we did, but what would these characters look like if they were with, like, Slate Stonecarver in the fantasy world? Or, what would they look like if they were in the Birds of a Feather world? Or vice versa, like moving things around and doing some of the characters that the fans have come up with over time, and like, what would they look like in the steampunk world, or what would they look like in this sci-fi world, or what would they look like, here, there, everywhere. Your characters as chess pieces, that's another thing, because like we got the Queen of Hearts coming down the road, gonna have her card soldiers and stuff, which would make awesome pawns. So I'm absolutely thinking about doing a whole chess set, because there's also going to be, like, they just ended up in the Emerald City, or outside of the Emerald City at the end of book 3, and we're fixing to get into all of the dwarves and munchkins and stuff that live there, and we're talking like fantasy dwarves. So like, there's going to be so many cool, interesting characters.
Oh yeah, and I will say this: I actually finally caught up with Alice Lost in Wonderland. I found the QR codes. Oh my lord, those are awesome! I'm telling you, listen. Okay, so for anyone who likes Gravity Falls or all those shows that has unnecessarily deep lore, for like no reason, please get yourself Alice Lost in Wonderland. It has the exact level of in-depth lore. Mind you, Mr. Fish and I are good buddies since we do this show and stuff like that. He hasn't told me jack diddly squat about nothing that goes in the backgrounds of Alice Lost in Wonderland. There are times where I'll just like, wait, there's a QR code here. I actually scan it. The ones that I think are very fun are the ones where he would try to implement, like, okay, I don't think this is as much of a spoiler. I think these are two funny instances. The first one being where you scan the QR code and it's a woman whistling but it's because it's actually Big Tin like wiping his glasses. You see the inside of a bar fight without just going.
And you see the notes he's whistling, but when you scan the QR code, it takes you to the actual song he's whistling, which is really funny. It's really funny. And the audiobook is coming, and I need a little bit of time to edit it, and we've been so busy running around visiting family and stuff lately. Like, I'm fixing to leave in probably 5 minutes and go
And then
roll.
I probably should. But anyways, what I will say though, actually getting to voice Cheshire was a ton of fun for that. And then also I realized that he's, I think, in issue 2 as well. I have yet to properly go.
Yeah, he's in issue 1 and 2. He's not in 3, but
Okay.
but he's going to be back because he can go anywhere and do anything. But there's a whole lot of, there are so many characters to have to try and juggle and all give some fair time.
I mean, listen, I can do more than just Cheshire. I know for a fact I can very much do like other characters. But that is aside the point. Merry Christmas, fellas. Have a great holiday. Hey, same to you there, Kyron. We hope you have a fantabulous holiday. I know that, for a lot of y'all, your dinners and your family get-togethers and the unwrapping of presents in the next, 6 hours? Right, 6 hours, 5 hours? I don't know. I'm not good with math.
That's a good idea.
Oh, the Yeti and sci-fi?
Space Yeti.
It's like we're creating our own rendition of Hoth from Star Wars, but just...
That's what I'm envisioning is I thought of the horns and everything. I was totally thinking of the beast from Hoth, and that's absolutely what I just saw in my head when I imagined that. I'm gonna have to
honestly,
come up with
also loving.
now.
I think my design for Mrs. Claus here, regardless, I feel like it's good with the red, the Arctic, camo kind of thing. Because ready? So we got Arctic camo, we have the classic red, authority suit, if you will. And then we have battle ready grandma, ready to go in guns blazing. I feel like all the designs that I made, solid in their own merit, depending on how you want to implement the design. Again, this one I can see she's talking with good old Saint Nick. This one, I feel like she's actually on the battlefield, ready to shoot down a bunch of Krampus-looking Yeti monsters. Come on. Anyways.
Yeah, I could definitely see this dude on the toy shelf in his green forest camouflage and in his Arctic suit with some skis that would snap onto the bottom of his feet. He would be so cool.
Go get yourself your new battle action reindeer.
Oh man,
the dark forces of the evil Yeti.
All those characters. What's a toy shelf? Kyron says. Kyron doesn't know about such things. Being a 1%er, he grew up playing with people's lives and fortunes, not toys. I do have to get out of here, though.
Yeah,
so,
of course you do.
On that note, let's say our goodbyes. Thank everybody for hanging out this amazing Christmas Eve. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday with your family. I hope you have a great time. Love you all. Thank you so much. You guys have made this show so much fun to be a part of. Y'all are the reason that I look forward to this every week. So thank y'all very much. You've been an amazing gift to me this year, and I appreciate each and every weird one of you.
And honestly, he took all the words that I could have ever said as well. I love Wednesdays. I love the fact that we get to have this awesome community time, getting to really come up with some whacked out characters, letting the dice dictate what we create. But overall, this was a blast and a half. Thank you so much for indulging in the holiday episode of Roll for Hero, a segment of our shows in which we let the dice dictate what on God's green earth we will be drawing today. But outside of that, it's been us, your two weird unks, signing off. So to my fellow nieces, nephews, and weirdos out there, make sure to follow these 3 simple rules. Make sure to stay awesome, stay weird, and to keep life to the easiest. Always remember that art inspires all, but you can inspire more. But until then, everybody, happy holidays and stay ultra.
Roll for Hero!
And even if you were to have a prompt of 10 different things, right? Say if you had one prompt of here's 10 different personality traits, here's 10 different superpowers, here's 10 different drawbacks.
I like coming up with random list of powers and then just see what I come up with.
Imagine rolling just those things every single time. It's always going to vary. The possibility of that happening is, again, a 1 in 10 chance, but it's it shows that there's
always something else cool right around the corner that we can come up with, because there's no end to the prompts. There's no end to what we can roll up.
Now we're going to